I'm Ruth Wilbanks. I'm with ETSU's Career Services. I work with the employers and students. I manage the database program on our website and also help coordinate the career fairs and any kind of career events for students and alumni.
I'm Wayne Spear, also from University Career Services. I work with students and alumni in all areas of recruitment and employer programs that we have on campus. Work with students a lot and alumni in developing resumes and curriculum vitae and trying to match up those students in all fields with employers that are seeking our products, our students.
Our product.
Paul Sims from the Department of Engineering, Technology, Surveying, and Digital Media. I'm a professor.
And the coordinator of manufacturing.
And the coordinator of manufacturing and electronics.
I'm Rachel Dinsmore, academic advisor for engineering, technology, and surveying students.
And I'm Bill Hemphill, associate professor in engineering technology, coordinator of the industrial technology and product development concentrations in engineering technology.
For point of clarity, you are accredited in your manufacturing
That's correct.
program. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Industrial will not be, and it's 120
It's
credit hours. Product development is accreditable when we're able to do it, but we don't have the faculty now. That's basically, it's a matter of faculty.
That's what I figured. At least part of it would probably be that.
We're just short staffed.
Yeah. I thought it might be thin. One of the reasons I was speculating, but that might be
Thin
one of
in
them.
regard to the number of faculty, not the actual faculty.
Right. Numbers. I know.
So does that mean that you're not able to offer all of the courses that you
No, all the
need to
courses are there.
do?
When we first did the product development, we specifically designed it so we didn't have to add any courses. And the three concentrations are basically triplet sons of different mothers. And there's a huge amount of overlap for the technical core. And really, there's a huge amount of overlap between product development, doing a manufacturing and electronics sequences, and doing the manufacturing, programming, and automation sequence. And I think there's only one or two cores that are really different, depending on which.
Yeah, but if you've done the digital media, there's not a great deal of overlap.
Yeah. So if you do digital media, you can dump into industrial, which is not accredited, and or the construction and architectural track. You can do. I mean, that's a very simple thing that we can accommodate with.
Digital's a portion.
There's 4 sequences that you can, and you have to choose 2.
Right.
And in the product development. So consequently, if you do the manufacturing and electronics, that's one, but there's also the digital media and then the architectural construction. And so, if you're doing the electronics and manufacturing, it's literally, it should be 1 or 2 courses.
There's
and
two
boom, you're in.
courses that we
There's
can
only,
bring in.
depending on what you do, but most of those are going to be technical things, and so it shouldn't matter.
So that would make them more viable to switch over to manufacturing and the accreditation.
Oh yeah, I mean
Well, if they electronics and manufacturing.
Yeah.
But ABET accrediting is going to give you certain things. One of them, if your company is paying for it and it's a reimbursement thing, a lot of times the company wants the ABET accreditation.
Right.
So then that's just, the company's going to pay for it. If you're going to get a job with the federal government and you want to get the proper GS rating later in life, you want to be doing that. If you're also going to be wanting to ever go to a different state and sit for the
Fundamentals of engineering.
fundamentals of engineering exam on your way to a PE, which you can't do in Tennessee anyway.
Right.
You would want to go to the manufacturing. Other than that, there's no real thing. Most employers aren't looking, from what we know and the data that we've got, it can be a concern, but the university is accredited through SACS.
Yes.
The program has accreditation in construction, manufacturing, electronics, and
Biomedical.
biomedical.
How many students are in your product development group?
23 in product development.
How many would be supported by an employer needing ABET accreditation? You were just bringing that up as a.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
companies that do like Boeing won't hire you unless you have ABET accreditation. Believe it or not, McKee Foods, you know, the people that make Little Debbie,
Yeah,
they want ABET accreditation.
of course they would.
Yeah, so, well, you know, if you've ever been down there, it's pretty complex. I mean, they got a lot of chemicals in there, trust me.
Try not to eat those things.
yeah, like the key foods was that since that option was available on the table when we were running that cohort, we were doing the manufacturing, or if you didn't want to do the manufacturing, you could bring in and do the
Right.
industrial. The industrial is always kind of the way of getting people in that don't articulate in very quickly with the cohorts and all that. So we just gave them the option, and McKee Foods actually, you know, since it was there, they just said that's the one you're going to do, and they just basically that was their choice to force everybody into that because the option was there, and we would rather you do that. But you know, they understood it was the same curriculum. So
Yeah.
But then there's like those employers that are not so much in the manufacturing, but they're looking for product development, you know, and it's more in the, you know, the sales, the advertising,
They're
the
not-
marketing.
They're not care about ABET.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah, they don't, they just want somebody that has a skill set and
That's right.
fills a requirement. So, but I think in those cases, it's probably a government, what, was it Boeing? Is that
Boeing is an
government?
example, and
So that one they may.
you know, a lot of people in the technical area see ABET as sort of a walk-in area. I mean, they say, okay, I know if it's ABET, it's this.
Right.
But that's not always the case. Like Parker Hannafin down in Greenville, we have a lot of students that go to work there, and as far as I know, Todd, one of the guys that came out of the industrial program, he didn't need ABET. They did their own testing. If you want to look at what they did, they actually had their own gatekeeper. You came in and you had to sit down and take a test, and that's where they based, you know, whether they're going to hire you or not.
Exactly.
I know when we were doing the co-ops and the internships, and we were doing enough to stay healthy. You know, we had students flowing in and out all the time. And I know internships and co-ops are different, but from employment, not so much each other. But ABET was never mentioned in any of that advertising at that level. Now, and I had a lot of conversations with the HR people, and Parker Hannafin being one of them. We didn't do any Boeing that I recall. I think I would have certainly remembered Boeing. McKee, I don't think we had any at that time either.
Yeah, but McKee does make it required.
Right. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
and McKee was
had they told me
was
we
a
would-
player because we were doing a cohort in Chattanooga,
Right.
and we did one cohort one time.
Yeah.
That was it. And
But
So
just-
is this in all of their, like in
Well, if they're technical programmers or line programmers and things like that,
they have to be
They want the ABET.
accredited?
Yeah.
But
Okay.
like I say, that's nothing normal. I mean, most manufacturers want you to be able to do the things they're going to get, regardless of whether they go through an ABET program, PLCs, classes, you know, automation, manufacturing concepts, or you know, plant out material handling, things like that.
So it just depends if you want to go beyond that. Like, let's say you said if you wanted a license, the PE license or something, some kind of a credential, additional credential that the employer might require.
Now, you can't sit for the PA in this state, okay? But we actually lose a lot of students who go to Virginia and Georgia and Alabama and other places where you can sit. There are 38 states you can sit with a PE, for the PE with an ABET accredited degree from an engineering technology program.
Right.
Tennessee's not one.
Oh, okay.
You can get your degree in Tennessee, but you can test for the PE in another state. Is
Yeah,
that
but
correct?
you can't serve you. And in fact, if you come in, even if you had a PE, let's say you worked in Arizona for 10, 15 years, all your designs are safe. People are walking on them all day. If you come into Tennessee without a engineering degree, they will not give you a PE license extended to you. Doesn't even matter if you've been doing it 15 years. So.
Shazam.
Yeah, that's Tennessee.
Yeah.
Rachel, do you want to start us with any additional questions beyond what we had earlier or anything like that?
Sure. I would think a student would want to hear from your perspective first, since you've worked with so many employers in the area.
Sure.
I know that we will have students who are weighing their options and considering maybe switching to that ABET accredited program.
Well, Ruth and I will play tag team on this because we work in concert, but yet sometimes our exposures out there to the employers are somewhat different. In going back and thinking about my history with engineering interns and with the co-ops, and those hopefully maturing into actual positions out there, we did not have a lot of requests, and I'm not sure I had any specifically. If we had a student in manufacturing, they knew ABET was part of that program, but normally employers don't talk to us at all about accreditation. Your program is what we consider, this particular program, product development, looks very similar to what the university has in interdisciplinary studies, where we take a lot of good courses and culminate those courses into a concentration under an academic degree umbrella, like engineering technology, concentration product. It has not been my experience that employers are actively pursuing the accreditation requirement. It just doesn't come up in the course of conversation. Now, they may come in with that, and if they have that as part of their requirements and their needs, they need to voice that up front. It would help our recruitment efforts out quite a bit, and certainly with working with the faculty.
Also, really the employers are really more concentrated on finding the right skill set for certain positions. Like I met quite a few employers at some of these career fairs, and they are just looking for the qualifications, and they have a bachelor's degree in that particular field, and sometimes they're not even specific about the field. Sometimes they're looking for skill set. You could be, as Wayne mentioned, you could be an interdisciplinary study, but if you hold certain coursework or skill set, they're interested. And of course, there's also the person, what you bring to the table, your characteristics, your attitude, your communication skills, your writing skills. They're more, they put more emphasis on the communication because they're dealing with customers and they want to be sure their employees can, communicate with their customers. So they really just want, and sometimes they don't even ask for a bachelor's degree. Sometimes it's any major, and sometimes not necessarily, could be associate degree. But if you can do the work and you are qualified, then that's what they look for. There's a company that was recently at the career fair, and they were looking for IT people, but they were also looking actually for product development students. And they were looking for somebody that could take their product, and then manage it and schedule it and coordinate it through all the different processes in the company, and then get it out the door to their out for distribution. And they really, to me, they just want somebody that has those skills, that has the skills to be organized, to be able to, have time management skills, and be able to work with others in a team. So they really don't mention anything about the accreditation. But they really emphasize the skills and the quality of what you bring. They're being responsible, being able to show up on time, be there at work. So I think they're just eager. They're so hungry for students that have those qualifications. So I don't think that they really need to worry about a lot of that, but there's always the basis that make sure that you're covered with the various courses, that put you in that situation. Like, make sure that you're reading your descriptions, your job descriptions, and seeing what the employer wants, and then go take that that description and then research it and figure out what coursework I need to do in order to be qualified for those positions. So it's kind of a different attitude. If you know what the employer wants, then that's what you need to concentrate on and really work to satisfy those different special qualifications. So I know, like you said, Paul, that, I think if you want to go beyond that, if you want to get licensed, then maybe that might be something that they might consider. But other than that, I mean, they're just looking for ETSU students, and if they're coming to us and they're posting their job postings on our database, that means they're looking for our students. And then, we do everything possible to try to communicate that out to the academic departments. So, but they're out there and they're coming to us, and I'm amazed that, when I say, well, are you looking for this major? Not necessarily. We want students that have the ability to learn, that want to learn and that want to grow with us. So, so I think that's the key. That's really the key. I'm not worried, it's up to the individual, of course, what they feel is what they want to do. But if they really enjoy what they do in the product development and learning about designing and, learning about creating products and things like that, then you should do that,
Well, if they find the program, and I'm going to take the last part of what you said, but I was sitting here thinking, unless a student wants to go to some more advanced education, or students know what they want to do in the long term. Hopefully, they've started their career life thought processes, as we're always encouraging in the office. Think about what it is that's going to make you happy in the long run, and what are your outcomes? Are they going to be satisfactory to your goals? If you're enjoying your education in this department, if you are enjoying your courses, if these courses in product development are meeting your career goals and your mission of what you want to do, then I would say that the program is very satisfactory to what it is you want to happen in your life professionally. If you want to go a different direction down the road toward professional engineering, or to some contractors, or to the government that would require some specifics in ABET, then that's another issue.
And a lot of companies, just reiterating what you said, we had about 5 weeks ago, maybe 4, Norfolk Southern called me and said, we want some people, and they wanted them to know PLCs, controls, switching, sensors. That skill set you're talking about, and that's what we teach. And I passed it on to Linda. She, advertised it. No students took it up. Well, the guy called me back and said, I hadn't anybody call me. And so I said, well, talk to her. She came and got me. She says, well, will you walk around class with me and describe what, because Norfolk Southern's a great place to work.
Yeah.
And we went to 5 classes, and every one of those students had a job lined up. Yeah, they didn't even want to apply. They did not even want to apply. And one of the requirements was that you had to go through the Norfolk Southern system. You had to work over their system, and they were honest about that. You're going to go to a lot of states, a lot of different. You're going to be on the road a whole lot,
Right.
And a lot of students don't want that. But nowhere did it say ABET. They were hungry for people who understood switching systems, control systems, and sensors, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So.
And that's a similar response we get with students when we had them in construction. First of all, one of our issues with students, and I'm sure most of our 20-something students that are in this program are from right here in this area. Most of the challenges we have happens to be with students that do not want to leave this area. We always talk about the cellophane barrier. The cellophane barrier exists 70 miles out of the center of this campus. Most students don't want to travel out beyond that, like the Norfolk Southern. That was a song that we heard every day in the internship program. And it's a song we hear every day when we're out there bringing exceptional employers to campus, but they might be in Nashville or even Asheville, and then that's just not home. So, and I want students to hear this as part of this message today, because as you think about product development, it's a field that's finite like many other fields. And if you're happy with your program, another thought you need to apply is, where can you take your skills and apply those skills outside of this area necessarily. A little promotion there. So.
Yeah. And just to bring in a little bit of background, just to where people understand where product development came from, there was a hole in our curriculum when engineering, design, graphics became digital media. And we had no articulation path for transfer students to come in with a background in like CAD from a community college and those historical type of transferable courses. Manufacturing was good for people with a manufacturing, engineering, technology 2-year degree. Some of the other ones, anybody can come into industrial. That's the whole point of having the industrial. It is, it's the safety net for getting the engineering technology degree. And one thing that students need to know is you can't get a degree in engineering technology with a concentration in industrial to get out in 120 hours and then come back and then do manufacturing because it's the same degree. That doesn't work. You can't get a degree after you get a degree. So it's really a concentration within it. When Paul and I sat down and designed the curriculum for product development, we wanted to do two things. We wanted to get away from just having a CAD background, and because nobody needs to hire 4-year CAD scope operators. Nobody is going to pay for that. That was one of the problems we had with our long-term placement for engineering technology students from 4-year degrees with engineering, design, graphics. Specifically, we looked literally across the world. Paul pulled out a curriculum from Massey University in Auckland, New Zealand.
That's great.
And they had a product development degree that was multidisciplinary in nature. We embraced that idea, and that's why we have those 4 sequences that you do. We have the Gen Ed, we have the departmental core, we have the technical core and technical support classes. And all of those are very similar between industrial, manufacturing, and product development. But with the product development, then you kind of can bifurcate into one of 4 places, of which 2 of them need to be either electronics or manufacturing. So we wanted to have that core. We also had a manufacturing core because you had to choose for when we go up for ABET accreditation, which will happen when we're able to. You had to either be mechanical or manufacturing. You had to be either a program that was going to be accredited through ASME, which is the mechanical engineering, or SME, which is the manufacturing side. So we specifically went with the manufacturing side because that's our strength. We had those courses and we weren't having to do a new mechanical engineering technology program. So that's kind of that historical background and where it is and why it is so allied and fits shoehorns almost so well with the existing manufacturing-based industrial technology and then the manufacturing engineering.
You know, and the truth is, if you want to do manufacturing, stick in the manufacturing degree. If you want to do product development, stay in the product development degree.
Yeah, and if you really want to grow up and sit for the engineering exam, then you should possibly consider going to an engineering school. And ETSU at this point does not offer a Bachelor of Science in Engineering, but those things are on the table, but don't plan on that happening except at the speed of the state, which is never fast.
Right. I'd actually heard that myself.
So, part of that is, we, as faculty, we would love to have another accredited program. Right now, because of our staffing situation, we could not risk not getting reaccredited with manufacturing by having too few faculty to warrant, going for everything. And it just wasn't working out because of circumstances. If anybody feels horribly abused, I apologize for that, but We've never said that it was accredited, that we would go up for accreditation when we can. And one of the reasons that manufacturing lost its accreditation for a short period of time was because we didn't have the faculty and we didn't have the students in it. Manufacturing being what it is, and Paul, you can provide numbers on jobs and job outlook and growth sectors and all that, but the bottom line is that it was trending down, and now it's kind of making a comeback, and especially on this side of the recession, we're seeing lots and lots of employers such as Denso coming in and hiring lots of ETSU students.
They were at our fair, so was Molly.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
we're actually, when we lost, ABET used to identify how many faculty you had to have. It wasn't an option. I mean, you couldn't fill that with adjunct. You had to be full-time in-department faculty.
Right.
And, literally, for manufacturing, they called 2 faculty lines as a minimum for each program. And when we lost, I can't remember now, it's been 2 years ago, we lost somebody and we fell below that number. So we had to report that to ABET, and we had to ABET said, well, until you get somebody in there, you're not accredited. And as soon as we get somebody in there, we resubmitted. So they have definite gates for the things they look at. But when we look at it now, manufacturing is strong. We're looking at about 56 majors. And those aren't all full-time equivalents. Those are some part-time people and some other things. But the numbers are going up. I mean, and we're getting back to balance.
we're seeing that in our opportunities with employers coming to campus and recruiting. Plus, just actually, this new system we have now called a central network is similar to Bucklink, but it's much more user friendly. We're getting more responses
from companies
regionally and nationally.
Yes, regionally and nationally. Even from California, we're getting them. Wow. So they're coming out and they're wanting our students here. So there are manufacturing. They're coming out of North Carolina. There's a lot that's starting to come this way too.
Well, I just got done writing a report for something else, and in it we were looking at what the state job audit looked like. The state labor Department of Labor actually publishes a yearly report on what the jobs outlook is, and they actually in the report they produced, they said 3,000 scientific and professional jobs are wanted. In other words, we're going to be short 3,000 people in the state of Tennessee for these areas. So, I think there's going to be jobs in product development, there's going to be jobs in manufacturing, there's going to be jobs in all these technical areas. STEM is just growing like you would not believe. And they've got another report. If you want to go look on the Tennessee Department of Labor's website, they've got a report called the STEM Jobs Report. And that just came out in 2010, late 2010. And what it does is predict for the year 2014 what the job outlooks look like for STEM. And for engineering, technology, for all areas, product development, things like that, it's all growth. I mean, I was amazed at the numbers that they were predicting. And like I say, in the 2013 labor market report, it actually is reinforcing that because it's taking that data and comparing it to it, and I was like, wow, that's just amazing.
Well, it brings out a good point for the students. This is a great chance to add to that. And I know you do this, Rachel, but it might be an extra emphasis after what Dr. Sims has said, that the students come over to our office, get on our calendars. We can add to that information. We actually have those reports. It just depends on who comes in, and we look at them at the time because we're not going back and forth. But we have some ONET readings on the future up to 2020, and we have Occupational Outlook Handbook, plus we have dozens of resources on our website. If the students will just come in and use University Career Services as a resource and going through these sorts of backgrounds, it'll answer a lot of their employment questions. So you can just start, recommending to them to come over, because we serve all the colleges, and certainly the clinical areas, the nursing, clinical rehabilitative, all those groups come over on a very, very regular basis. Arts and sciences students fill the schedule, so we should be seeing the engineering students coming over using those same resources.
Because there's a lot of things. I mean, College Central Network, there's so many employers on there. Not all of them are posting, but they still have their websites, and if the students just do a little bit of research and go on there, they can actually find those jobs in there.
go right
They're
to
not always just posted on our website, but they're actually on that employer's website. But we have been getting a lot more employers coming on that we've never had before on our system, so we know that it's picking up a little bit, but it's not real so strong as we'd like it. But there are there are more manufacturing coming out. They're looking for manufacturing. We just got a survey one the other day for surveyors, which we haven't seen one in a long time. So little by little, they're looking. They're kind of conservative about it, but they're still out there. Just at the fair, we had Arvado Berlesman, which is they've been around for a long time, and they have facilities all over the country. And they're wanting to employ actually product development, manufacturing.
With a digital slant to it as well.
With a little digital slant to it, yes. With the CAD, a little bit of design, computer design type stuff.
You just described the product development degree.
Yeah.
And they were here.
And they were here at the
And
career
I'm
fair.
wondering how many of your students came through.
I don't know. I don't know if they got that many, but they are on there posting jobs right now. And that's the thing. It's hard to get the word out to students, but we're working on that with this new program. Now,
It's not hard to get the word out. It's not hard to get the word out. It's hard to get people to read and listen to the word that's out there.
That's true.
I hope the students are listening right now on our recording form.
Yeah, but we're slowly working to try to get more communication between the students, and with this program, I'm getting a little. I have a little more access, but the student has to be on the system to be able to be communicated to. So that's where we're at.
Didn't we send an email, a blanket email to every student at East Tennessee State University about this career fair? We sent out over 14,000 emails from our office.
Yeah, here's the truth. The easiest thing to ignore is an email.
Yeah, it is.
I know.
But it was there for a moment.
Yes.
Well, no, I had a bunch of students leave my class to go, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, good.
Now,
Good.
well, one of the things I guess
That's
to
good.
look at is the idea that from the long-term employment point of view, if you want to maximize your options for your entire span of your career, then manufacturing would be the way to go. Simply because it is ABET accredited, and for hopefully the next 6 years. And that's how ABET accreditation runs. And you get it for either none or 1 or 3 or 6. So we're hoping that because of the successful campaign that we had, we'll get a 6-year. That will keep the maximum number of doors open for you throughout your career. Because of people getting hired and in a situation where you have a scarcity of talent, employers will by necessity hire the people that can solve their problems and help them make money and stay in business. And so they're looking for skill sets, and having a multidisciplinary focus in doing the things you want to do. If it's electronics and digital media, if it's manufacturing and construction and architectural type stuff. I mean, that's the whole point of making this a multidisciplinary focused degree, where you could kind of position your academic career to be able to take advantage of opportunities in the areas where you wanted to work. Specifically, if you wanted to work in like home building and do design work and understand CAD and CNC and do those type of things, but also have that ability to work in a particular market sector. We don't have aircraft, so we don't do a lot of aircraft system stuff with manufacturing. But, nobody said you can't work there. It's just with this particular degree, you're going to have a specific skill set that you can bring to the table into an interview, and with an academic, what's the thing called, transcript that says here's what I took and here's how well I did. And another big thing is to take advantage of opportunities for co-op and internships and part-time employment within your.
And we still have
Area.
some co-ops that go one. I mean,
Yeah.
students don't realize some of these guys are paying $17 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
You know, sorry about that.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's better than McDonald's money.
Well, I'll tell you, the one we had, the last one we had advertised for Molly before we switched over and CBAT took over, they were 17 or 18 bucks an hour out there at the Molly site in Morristown.
Yeah, and that's great. And usually, like you say, they don't say you got to be, this or that. They want somebody with a skill set, and as long as they see that on the student's resume, and his transcript, I don't think they would differentiate between a product development or manufacturing. And some of these are, more along the lines maybe of product development, but that's a good way for these students to hopefully secure a job, because a lot of times these co-ops, internships turn into, you're going to be here for a while. I think it did for your son, didn't it, Bill? Or,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
And it came to an offer. So.
yeah, came to an offer. I mean, that's what you're after. So,
So does the manufacturing curriculum also contain the digital media, some digital media
No.
courses?
No.
They don't at all?
It is more of a true engineering technology
So
play.
they get CAD?
Or you can do a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
science.
3D CAD too.
The physical sciences is technical electives. You can do physics or math or those kind of historical tools for modeling and from that design point of view. But we're not offering opportunities for doing a lot of that heavily theoretical stuff. If you want to do that, you go to an engineering school and learn lots and lots of theory. We're very, very hands-on. We have people who can go into a laboratory environment and go from art to part, from CAD through CNC, and then understand how to work with students. And that's what those capstone experience are like for SIM applications, which is required in all three of the industrial, manufacturing, and product development concentrations. They all take that same basic core.
Yeah.
And so from my point of view as somebody who's involved in all three, you can start down one path, and by the time you're in your junior year, you should really be sitting there saying, well, I kind of like the business side of it, and I'm in a hurry, or I'm transferring classes in, I'll go ahead and do the industrial. Because that's really what the industrial is. It has
more the
less
business
math,
side.
less science, but has three specific courses that are in the technical support area, which means that they're negotiable, in that regard too. But we want you to understand accounting, and then legal environment and business, which is a contract law class, and then another class which is kind of a management, organizational management, as I recall. I should recall since I'm the coordinator. But those kind of things of understanding money, understanding organizational structure, and understanding law, those are really good things to have.
They are.
And but any of them can use things like I needed more caffeine for lunch. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We'll take time.
Engineering economy, the time value of money. I mean, that is one of those courses that isn't part of our core, but would be applicable to every one of these concentrations.
Yeah. And the nice thing about product development too, if you're interested in that, we've got some resources in the department that are fairly unique. I mean, we just got a water jet. We have a stereolithographer, a three-dimensional fusion modeler. We have a new laser that's just coming online. So the ability to make models, make product designs that are partially implemented in terms of the physical space they take up, and in some cases maybe even working.
Right.
We're pretty advanced. I mean,
That's good.
I forget who was here the other day, but they were from another large university, and they didn't have a water jet. They were lusting after a water jet. So with all those technologies there, it's a very good thing to be able to put on your resume. I worked with a laser cutter. I worked not just a cutter. I mean, this is a major laser machining system. Water jet systems. If you go when I go into factories and do audits, I've seen a whole lot of factories that have water jet systems need people to operate those technologies and things like that. So it's
I'm gonna add something to what Bill said, and this is really for the students, but I think it's good for the faculty to hear this, because when I was out on the road recruiting for you guys, I got the chance to meet a lot of manufacturing plant managers, all that had engineering backgrounds pretty much. I went up to, I think it's White Volvo, it used to be Volvo, and that's Dublin, Virginia, and I got to go to my old school in Blacksburg, and I went to Federal Mogul. Well, I actually did 3 or 4 manufacturing site visits. 2 plant managers, the one from Federal Mogul and the one from White Volvo, said almost identically the same thing which you said a minute ago, Bill. They hire theoretical engineers from Virginia Tech and other schools like that, but they like engineering technology students because theoretical engineers do not like to get dirty. And engineering technology students are not afraid to get on the line and mess it up, mess themselves up trying to be part of what they're doing. So I think that's important for our students to know that there is a niche. As I tell all students, you have to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd. If you're with the crowd, you're not going to be as successful as separating. So you need to keep that in mind. It goes back to things are finite, so you need to find those things in that finite community that makes you. So.
And that's where I get into this idea. We designed product development to be multidisciplinary because from what I've done in industry, from what I know people who are working in industry, the more multidisciplinarily trained, when I say trained, educated you are, the more you can understand, the more you can communicate, the more you can effectively communicate and problem solve, and consequently, the more you can work as an integrator. And for engineering management positions from that path, that ability to work with different people and communicate problems, analyze solutions, and then implement those solutions, and then deploy them effectively, that's the hallmark of, a good late in life, mid-career engineering management type thing. And I think our students, no matter what concentration they're coming out of, whether it's construction, electronics, biomed, or the 3 we've been talking about, our engineering program, our engineering technology program is set up not to be a theoretical engineering thing, but to give them that tool set that allows them to work as, what we say, articulate, knowledgeable problem solvers. And my goal is not to just get people out there who can get that first job, but to have a skill set that allows them to talk to other people throughout their career so that they can keep their job and use it as a full career option. So the product development was set up to be that multidisciplinary thing from the get-go. And if you want to do that, that's probably where you need to be and where you need to stay.
Because what I see is in product development, and I've seen this in other companies, that they really utilize project managers. I mean, you could just about go almost to any company and they hire project managers. And these skill sets that the product development students, I believe, are learning could apply those in those kind of positions, because those are the people that actually coordinate a lot of the processes in a company, and they could be from manufacturing level, working in an assembly area, or you could be working in the business aspect of it, and you're so versatile that you can do either because you've got a real strong skill set, the core of that. And I think that's something to think about too, because you can take it as far as you want. You could do product development engineering and maybe get a master's in business, or if you want to do an account manager, get up there, or work in those levels, or be a supervisor in over a manufacturing department or something. So there's so many. It's like the coursework. You're learning a little bit of construction, a little bit of manufacturing, a little bit of digital media, but you're learning the design, how to take the product from one step to the next step and to the next step, and see it through. And those are, when you can do that, I think it's valuable. I think that's a valuable asset for an employer. But yeah, I agree with you. I think if you enjoy that part of the job, you think you'd like that kind of thing, then maybe stay with product development. And add a few, maybe somewhere down the line, try to add a few manufacturing or some other kind of coursework that would enhance your skills.
You can always come back. ETSU allows you to come back after you graduate and still take more classes. To the point that if you want to, get a master's.
Exactly.
And whether you're coming back to ETSU or because of your geographical circumstances, the Bachelor of Science in Engineering Technology is going to give you the status to apply for certain other graduate programs. You can walk into probably any MBA, but you're still going to have to take a few classes for the business side of it to catch up, because you're getting a business degree if you're going to pursue an MBA. If you're going to go to an engineering school, you might have to take some of the calculus. If you don't plan on taking the 1910, 1920 calculus and the calculus-based physics classes, you might have to take those because those are tools of the trade of engineers. And then if you want to get a master's in engineering, you might need to take those classes as a, pre-master's thing just to come up to speed. I mean, everybody has their own rules. You got to play their game. The bottom line is, though, if you find out that there's some doors that are being shut because of a degree choice that you made 20 years ago, but you've had a career, a good career there, then that's fine. You can always go back to school and start reprogramming the wetware.
After 20 years, most companies aren't looking at what your undergraduate degree is. They're looking at what you've been doing the last 20 years.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're
They
looking
don't
at
care.
your experience.
It's really going to be the first couple of jobs that you have, and then go.
Right, just to get your foot in the door, and then once you're in, you're going to be building experience.
But this might be the only degree you get. It might be the second degree you've gotten because you transferred in because of you got an AAS, you came back. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's the last degree.
Right.
Exactly.
And like I said, if they look at the job descriptions, if they're looking for a particular job with a particular employer, have them go on the website, do their research of that employer, and just find out everything about the type of jobs they offer, and then take those job descriptions and look at them and figure out, what and apply their skill set to that job description, and then figure out where they might need to add to it, or what area they're lacking, and that they might need to maybe take a course or here and there, or figure out how certificate program, whatever it is, and then figure out, to set themselves out to prepare themselves to apply for those positions, because I think that's the key. And then go in and get your resume prepared so that it all is tailored toward that position, and that way they can market themselves. They can market and apply it in the right way, even without the experience. If you've got the courses, and you apply those and put them in there in your resume. You really have to do the work, because sometimes it's not just, sending your application and your resume there. You really have to do your research, and that's something really important. And because a lot of employers have told me that, they said they get resumes, but it's nothing that they can use, and so that's why it's important that you got to tailor it and find out, what does that employer do? What is it they want? What is it I can do for them? What are my skills, and what can I do for them to make them want me to work for them? And that's the key. Yeah.
And guys, I hate to say this, I got another meeting at 2 o'clock.
Well, we do too, and to go off of this, just for the students, come to the office. We can do exactly what Ruth was just talking about, what I talked about earlier. We are their resource. We can tell them how to find out this information in their field, what the prospects are, and where the jobs are at this point that are existing now. We have 2 resources, one from the University of Tennessee that says, what can I do with this major? It's new information that comes out every 24 months. We have another one called ONET that tells exactly what Ruth was just talking about, so we'll do those. So in closing, thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Hope the students will take advantage of this. Rachel, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for being here.
Certainly,
Thank you.
our pleasure.
For